Why has it not updated the titles? Okay, it has. Okay. I think this might be the last handmade video I'd be watching. Because I think I know what I want to build with it now. Tell you about it later.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. I believe it is day 25 of Handmade Hero. We have come to the end of a long journey, building our Win32 platform layer. And I know it seems like a long time because it's been 25 days, but each day is only an hour of code that we get to do, really. So if you think about it, if we started on Monday, and it was, we were working standard, 8-hour day with an hour for lunch or something like this. So we were working 7 hours a day. We're talking about less than 4 days. So we started on a Monday at work. We would have been done with this by Thursday. That's how little actual coding work we've done.
Well, it took me a lot more. I give it like 2 weeks.
Because at only an hour a night, it just doesn't add up to very much. So I know it seems like we've spent a long time here, but really, this is not very much, and that's with all the explanations and everything. So building a Win32 prototyping layer is really not that hard. Building a shippable Win32 layer, which we'll have to address later on, definitely takes more work. Like, there's stuff that we have not done because we're just trying to build something that we can prototype on. So there will be more Win32 work involved down the road when we get to that point. But even then, it's not going to be a huge amount of work. It's not going to take us years, right? It's going to be something fairly straightforward. So I think it's important to just kind of take a moment and go, gosh, there really isn't that much work to do here. We haven't even done a week's worth of programming work yet. And we already have a prototyping layer that's got a bunch of features in it and works pretty well for our purposes. And there's some stuff that we didn't do because we're not using hardware acceleration yet, but adding hardware acceleration is actually pretty simple, you'll see. And so at that point, you kind of have something that's pretty close to a shipping layer. So I don't know. I think we're in pretty good shape, and it really didn't take us that long. So that said, today is going to be the last day of Win32 specific coding. Basically, what we're going to do today is just finish the cleanup that we started yesterday and maybe do a little bit of recap. But for the most part, after today, we will no longer be thinking of Win32 programming. The only time we'll go back to Win32 handmade.cpp is when we sort of want to hoist things out of it now. Because as we start building the platform independent part of things, some of the stuff that we did in the Win32 layer will no longer be necessary to do in the Win32 layer, and we'll kind of pull those things out. And also there's a bunch of like to-dos in the Win32 handmade.cpp that are things that we can't do now because we don't have services like logging. But when we build those services in the platform independent layer, we can go back into Win32 Handmade, and all those to-dos we can just put log calls in there, and they'll call up to the platform independent layer. So for the most part, we will be leaving Win32 Handmade.cpp behind, but we will still bounce back and forth to it as necessary to kind of pull services up from there into the platform independent portion. So let's go ahead and if you have pre-ordered the source code using handmadehero.org's handy dandy pre-order button, you should have gotten a link in your email. That link contains a zip file which has tons of zips in it. Each one corresponds to a day. We are on day 25, so you want to unzip day 24's source code. That is what I am working with right now, and that is what you will be working with as well if you are following along at home. So let's go ahead and bring up the Handmade Hero source code here. I never remember what the source tree looks like somehow. But I have some notes, which I'm going to take a look at here, just to see what else it was that I wanted to do. Okay. Sorry about that. This headset is causing me problems today. Never have wet ears when you're going to do a headphones-oriented broadcast. Okay. So it looks to me like there's not very much left to do. There's just a couple little things. So I think what we'll probably do is try to do those couple little things, and then I might go ahead and do the work of speeding up our replay stuff, because I talked about some ways we could make that faster, especially on a machine that doesn't have an SD drive, which this one doesn't. And so maybe we'll play around with some things to see if we can't make that faster, because it's a little slow right now on the record. So, all right, so the first thing that we want to do is let's just go ahead, for the sake of completeness, we do think we talked about this a little bit on the forums, and it does seem like for most platforms, from what people could determine, we could actually do a fairly cheap call here, and most of the time get the monitor refresh rate. That's what people think anyway. We're not sure, so when it comes time to ship this stuff, we're going to have to do certainly a more thorough job of like testing it on a number of platforms to see if we're getting a reasonable one. But when it comes to shipping too, we'll probably use a different service for syncing with the vertical retrace anyway, like OpenGL or Direct3D will actually be doing that sync for us, so we may not even have to care at that point. But I believe monitor refresh rate queries, we can actually use the one that we avoided using. Excuse me. I believe it's these are not. This is not it. It's the get system. It's like get system metrics, something like this. Call that we can just call, and it assuming that it doesn't encounter one of the conditions where it doesn't know the monitor refresh rate. Apparently, it will actually return an OK monitor refresh rate, I believe. I'm not sure if it's actually, I think, you know what, it's like get device caps, I think was the one we were looking at. We looked at it already. I was just like, it doesn't look like it's going to always return it, so I was shying away from it, but apparently it'll be fine. Yeah, so this is it. So it's basically get device caps with this V refresh thing. And this was the part I was scared about, but apparently most of the time this actually does work. So since right now we're hard coding it, it's probably better than nothing to go ahead and actually do something real here. So we could basically say that there's a monitor refresh hertz. We'll assume it's 60, which is what we were already doing. But then what we can do is go ahead and call this get device caps on the actual excuse me, on the actual HDC of our window. And in theory, that will at least sometimes, assuming we can actually rely on it at all, at least give us a better monitor refresh in case the monitor refresh or something else in Windows actually did know. So basically what we'll do here is we'll say, all right, we're going to get an int back, which is the vrefresh Win32 refresh rate. We'll see what that is. If Win32 refresh rate is greater than 1, basically, because we know we might get a 0 or a 1. It's documented as possibly saying that. If it's greater than 0 or 1, we'll assume that it actually is giving us a valid value. Now, whether this is how reliable this is, we don't know. This is definitely something we would have to spend more time investigating if we wanted to ship this directly. But for our prototyping purposes, we should be okay. And so from there, we should be able to define the game update hertz. Let's go ahead and.
So now you get that on Linux. Get monitor refresh rate. Excellent. Would X11 have that info? I mean, I'd assume so. X11. There's a keyboard. Is there anything monitor, display? Screens of display. What's that? Specifies the appropriate screen number on the host server. Both return a pointer to the indicate screen. It's a screen. Excuse me. Screen count. Specifies the connection to the X server. What? Both return number of available screens. Not sure. Find that display. X11 does support. I think this will open. Yeah. X11 refresh rate is complex, especially with multiple monitors, and can be limited by the monitor with the lowest refresh rate. While X11 can achieve higher refresh rates like 144 Hz on a single display, to default to the lowest common refresh rate. So undisturb environment configurators. What is observed from a computer no longer has its self-respecting refresh rate for each monitor like I had painstakingly set up before the update. What this about? Set custom resolutions and refresh rate on Linux X11. Let me go back to Xlib. Display functions, window functions. Window and session manager. No. What are these? Appropriate visual. Obtain classify key symbols. Allocate permanent storage. Parse window geometry strings. Often needs various options in the X environment. Awkward because users may want to customize many aspects of the program and need convenient way to establish these. Input device functions. Graphics functions. Does that help us for text? do remember seeing something about just the display. Excuse me. It's opaque. Yeah, there we go. Number of useful macros, functions, and return data of the display structure. Display width, height, cells, planes. I don't know. Okay. X display. Motion buffer size, display string. Display cells, height, codes. What's display? Display off. What's IM? Used to be all of it. All of the members of display structure, that is for those no macros are defined, are private to Xlib and must not be used. Functions in the next sections are misnamed. These functions really should be named screen whatever and screen whatever, not display whatever. Okay. Display macros. Alt GC. Full screen of display. Protocol version of Windows screen count. Screen count specifies the connection to the X server. Both return the number of available screens. Vendor release. What's the next section? Image format and functions. Screen information. Maybe. Tells the screen, default color map. Does the GC have... It's also opaque. Wonderful. Display of screen. Specifies the appropriate screen structure. Number, screen number. Feel like I'm getting close. Event mask of screen. Height, maxi maps. Row window screen. What does... Bitmap unit, image byte order. Display width. No. Is it even through X11? Monitor. Will that be genetic? Maybe they use X11? Oh yeah, that is. Okay, there's an extension. XRR get screen info. Is that anything about frequency? No. XRR get screen info. So you only need the display and what's root? The window. Okay. Do I need to include the extension in that case? Let's try without, and I think X11 key symbol. X render. How do I get the window? Yep. I need the GC. No. Configuration. Get screen info. Topic. Okay, I think this is the one we need. What do I need? Need the configuration, drawable. Why do I need all of these things? What's current rotation? Okay. So I do need to link X render. I mean, this could be weak. I'll check that later. Seem to build just fine. I'll see. I'll add it later. Needed. Display and window. I think it's display. Window. Oh, this is set screen config. XR config current configuration. Current rate. Okay. rate is equal to C dot. Config current rate. Server screen config. That's for now. Undefined, so okay, I don't need to link it. I think that's it. Okay, 75. Seems about right. Yeah. Guess this can add a turn screen configuration for later use. Okay, never mind then. The current. I know. What was it called? Target FPS. What do I do with this? Target millisecond for prime. Oh, okay, this is sleep time. Rename that per frame. Right. Rename that to X11. Refresh rate. Okay. was a short, so I'm guessing it's U32. And then X11 milliseconds per frame. Okay, I can get rid of these. Cut a monitor, that's fine. Just be here now. Selected F32, found U32. $90. I think it's float cost. Yeah, leave that as is. And then here. Maybe it's just it. Hey Devnin, how you doing? What is the type? Oh, hang on. It's not the refresh rate, is it? Let's just make it an F32. Doing good so far. What about you? Oh, yeah, I'm good too. It's an easy one today. Just get. Oh, I do need to cast. What is the type? Yeah, just getting the refresh rate for the monitor. Vector integer or vector? Is that right? I need to like cast it twice. I don't think that will work. That won't work either. So what am I going to do wrong? Vector float or vector type. Okay. Let's leave it in cast. That's definitely wrong. Converts a larger float to a smaller float. Converts between integer types. Okay. So is that a float from int? Yeah. Now this. Dwell time per frame is less than time per frame. I think this could just be an F32. Can't be negative anyways. Okay, shouldn't have cast. I think I know what to do now. Just leave it as it was. Down. What was the edit again? Okay, just that one. IT. $105. Yep. Okay. Yeah, 76. Close enough. But goes to I think I don't need this anymore. Or maybe I can leave this in. Goes to 60. I think that's mostly OBS. Otherwise, it's fine. Okay, so that's refresh rate. That wasn't too bad. I wonder if he has... Oh no, he doesn't. So what does this do? Apart from screen info. Resize, rotate, and reflection extension. Alright, anywho, I'll save the documentation. I need it later. Okay, what's next?
So that should probably be fine, and I'm going to just take a look. and see and make sure that all that was kosher. So at least we're still working okay. I want to go ahead and take a look at what that call looks like, where we get the vertical refresh. Let's go in here. There we go. So let's see, we get the refresh DC back. We take a look at the refresh rate. It does return 60. We release it. We go ahead and set that. Monitor refresh rate. Okay, game update hertz is 30, which is what we wanted, and everything looks kosher. Okay, so that's fine. No big deal there, but that seems fine. So that's good. I would say, taking a look here, so I'm going to cross that off of our list. So we got that. That looks good. All this looks good. So I'm going to introduce a little concept here that I want to do, which is, I realize it may be a little confusing and it probably won't make very much sense until we get a little further into things, but I just want to introduce a concept here that will save us some time, and it's kind of the way I like to do things. It'll save us some time. It's sort of one of those, in my experience, it is a good idea to have one of these things and have it early so that you don't have to sort of add it into your code later. It's sort of a having learned by doing kind of a situation. When you are porting, you find that you tend to need these things. On Win32, you actually don't really need the thing I'm about to do typically that much because there's ways you can get around it, but on other platforms there aren't always. So what I'm going to do is in the platform non-specific layer, I'm going to introduce something, and you'll just have to take my word for it because you won't actually see why this is necessary for a little while. I'll just have to kind of tell you why. I'm going to kind of tell you now why it's a good thing to do, and you're just going to have to take my word for it. But basically what I want to do is introduce something called a thread context, right? And what a thread context is it's just a handle or an informational structure that's passed along through every execution chain in the game. So basically, whenever I call something in the game, like we've got two functions in the game, and that may be all that we'll ever have, but whenever I call something in the game, the platform layer will pass this thread context. It'll just pass that into whatever it calls. And for right now, the thread context will have absolutely nothing in it, right? Because we have no idea what that's even going to be used for. Like I said, it's something that you're just going to have to take my word for. But basically what will happen is any time that you actually use some kind of operating system service, you're going to need to use one of these thread contexts. So basically what I want to do is say, all right, if you ever call back into the platform layer at all, you're going to have to use one of these thread contexts. And the thread context
using Pascal case for properties and params, yeah, it is kind of wild. It threw me off a bit. It does have a very strange way of naming things. I mean, the name's not itself very good, but yeah, the cases are weird. Yeah,
is essentially like something, you know, that's going to get passed into these, for example. So whenever you ask to free file memory or any of this stuff, you always have to pass your thread context. And essentially, all this is it makes up for the fact that not every platform does a good job of giving you information that you can use about what thread you're in when you're running multi-threaded. Since we haven't covered multi-threaded, like I said, it's a little bit difficult for me to explain why this actually matters, but I'll try to do a little bit of that in a second here. So all right, let's go ahead and get that compiling, and then in here, let's see here, go ahead and get that in there. What did I do? Debug platform read entire file. Did I not call it thread? I called it context. Fantastic. Nothing like starting the day off with inconsistent naming. Always a good thing. Could tell how absent-minded I am when I'm trying to talk and stream at the same time. It is often hard for me to focus on the code that I'm writing. It makes it kind of difficult, to be honest with you. All right, so...
Hey, Devin, I don't know if you're still here, but I'm thinking. I know what I want to build. Now that I have the window working. I think I want to build a debugger. Well, especially for like Zig on Linux, because I've been struggling. Like, I don't know, I'm not struggling. I couldn't get it to work really. Not even struggle. get the debugger working. And I tried a few editors as well. Maybe not just for Zig, but something that runs on Linux well. I saw this project. I don't know what it's called. Microscope. Linux debugger. But he left it like halfway. I don't think he completed it. I mean, yeah, see if I can. Well, I could either continue. This is also in Zig. So I could either continue from this or just start from scratch. I mean, after this, I don't really want to build a game because it doesn't like interest me that much. But a debugger, that could be fun.
What we need to do is pass that thread context here. Again, nothing is actually happening with it, but we need to pass it. And so what I'm going to do is just create a dummy thread handle. Basically, it's just going to be thread context like this, and it's going to have absolutely nothing in it, nothing important whatsoever. Again, did it again. Really want to call that context for some reason. And then these guys just get that empty handle. All right, and so what I want to do here is I want to introduce this concept just because the thread context is, it's basically, there's a lot of things that happen when you go start doing multi-threaded code where you want to know which thread is which. So you'll be inside some code and you'll be doing something and you're like, this could be made a lot more efficient if I had, say, one buffer per thread that each of these threads could write into, but unfortunately...
Situi for GDB. GF2. What is GF? GF2. I think I might have seen this. Oh, this looks pretty good actually. Yeah, I was thinking something like this. I mean, if this works. The problem with using GDB and Zig is that it can't find, or it doesn't understand the types. I tried using GDB. This does look good though. I will try it actually today. I'll leave it here. I mean, if this works, I don't need to build it. I don't know, kind of. We'll see.
I'm in the middle of this code and I don't know what buffer goes with.
Shouldn't the ABI make the types understandable across languages? Well, it should. And it used to work up until, I think it was 0.14, the Zig version. But since 0.15, I don't think they work. And plus, I don't know, yeah, I don't know why, but I think it might have to do with they are trying to remove LLVM from the backend, or like working towards it. So that could be one of the reasons, but not exactly sure.
With the thread that I'm in, right? So there's just these kinds of situations that you get into when you're in the middle of coding stuff that's multi-threaded, where you really want one thing per thread, or you want to know which thread you're in for some reason and have one thing inside your own code per thread, that sort of stuff. And so typically you want to be able to define like thread indexes and have pointers to thread specific things. In Windows, if you're not in a DLL, or well, okay, I shouldn't say if you're not in a DLL. In Windows, most of the time, you can get what's called thread local storage, which will sort of do this process for you so that you don't need that thread context handle. But there are other platforms where that's not true, and depending on the circumstances, you may not really want to do it in Windows either, and blah, blah, blah. So really, I'm just setting this up sort of as a predictive thing where I just want to get in the habit of having the game code always know sort of a thread handle for itself that it can use. And it does take a little bit of overhead.
There is a LDP branch somewhere that has support. Yeah, I did see. I read the thing on the forum. Someone posted the details on how to do it. Yeah, but it seemed like too many steps. Suppose the new backend information, but you'd have to compile it yourself.
I had to do this because it does have to get passed around, but on the whole, I find that it's just easier to do that than to deal with the alternatives. So that's the way I'm going to choose to do it in this particular case. I'm just introducing this now. So that's it. We don't have to do anything with it now. I just want to get used to that.
Which is great. I do use threads. I think that's how I play the audio. What's it? Let me just leave count. No. Or a handle. I'll rename that. Excuse me. I don't know how many threads it spawns. I'm guessing quite a few. Now that the refresh rate's gone higher, it spawns more threads.
And get used to kind of having that get passed through, because I would like to be able to use that for a bunch of different things. So that's all there is for that. And the other thing that I wanted to do, again, just miscellaneous cleanup, is one thing that I did notice is we don't pass any mouse input to the game. And we don't need that for any particular reason, because we won't really be supporting the mouse as a controller. Like, you'll be playing with the keyboard because it's kind of more of a digitally kind of game. So the mouse isn't really probably going to be appropriate. But what I would like to do, in case we want to develop some debug overlay systems that might be more appropriate for using with the mouse, or if we want to use the mouse to like move elements in some kind of an editing mode or anything like that, what I would like to do is essentially introduce here just some mouse debug stuff, right? So, you know, something like, you know, a mouse buttons flag and a mouse X, mouse Y sort of a situation. Just something like that where we can sort of pass the mouse information to the game. And it can be super janky and awful. it doesn't even matter because it's only going to be used.
Yeah, I forgot about the mouse input. Don't need that. It was some mask. Vent mask of screen. Flame mask. I think I meant pointed events. So I guess I could just add c dot button press release and then pointer motion. Pointer, click 1, 2, 3, 4. Maybe I'm listening to the wrong one. I think it's these. Sets mapping of the pointer. If it succeeds, generates a mapping notify event. Turns mapping success. Element map provide defines a logical button number for the physical button. Get pointer mapping would return or a bad value error results. Actively grabs control of the pointer. What happens to the pointer right now? I just need the events, really. What was it called again? Select input. Combination mode of the mouse text free to send only motion notify event. Motion mask. Pointer motion mask and pointer motion hint mask. X5 to X5 says same screen. The window member set to window on which each was generated. Is there a list of pointer motion hint masks selected in combination with one or more above masks? X11 is free to send only one motion notify event. Either the key or button stage press. I think it's so if I do, and what is the event? X pointer move. Okay, let's try that one. Okay, release client message. Maybe here. Pointer. I don't need to capture it. What do I switch on? Event.type. Spare index map. Okay, I think it's X motion. Hang on, this looks wrong. What are the types? Don't remember this at all. Button release, motion notify. Let's try that one. And then I think I should get X and Y. Okay. Suppose I could just do this here. And dot. I forgot. X motion dot X. Should have printed something. So it's not the right event. Did I add a mask? Point motion mask. Okay, there we go. Should be 0, 0. Close. Oh, that's okay. Seems this should be the width. Pretty cool. Nice. So I guess I could get button press, button release. Display events. Event types. Keyboard pointer events. Button press, button release, motion notify. Is that the one I listened to? Yeah. What's the mask for button press? Oh, okay, it depends on... Key press, button press mask. I'm sure won't remember that. Right, where's the... Here. What's the event called again? Button press. I don't know which button got pressed. Okay, print the button. Button press. Dot. Forgot what the object was. Button. X button. Okay, see if it makes a difference which button gets pressed. Oh, interesting. Doesn't trigger the release. Okay, that's why. I think you can get the rest of the information too. Printing release for both. Okay, that works. Well, that was easy. Not bad.
For our debugging purposes, but you know, I just kind of would like to have something like that in there. And maybe we'll use the half transition count thing. I don't know if that's a good idea. Maybe we'll use the half transition count thing for that since everything else uses it. So maybe we'll do something like this, where we do mouse buttons, and we say, okay, you know, how many mouse buttons are there on this thing? I think there's 5 on this thing. I don't know if mouse button have so many mice have so many buttons these days. And then of course we've got a mouse Z, I suppose, as well, which is that little mouse wheel thing. And so I just want to create...
I didn't try the other buttons really. Okay, interesting. I've never pressed these buttons on the mouse, except one of them. 8 and 9. Where's all the other ones in between? Oh, interesting. Scroll down is 5, up is 4. 3, 4, 5. Where's 6 and 7? No idea. Is it like the off button or something? Not really.
Create that state there, have it so that the game can get it, and also let's go ahead and just drop in, you know, something where we can see if we're actually passing that correctly, and then I'll pass it correctly in Win32. So we have that we have the render player thing, right? We have a...
Yep. Where is input? I don't know if this makes sense anymore. I think it shouldn't really matter. Except the mouse stuff. Sure.
Render player call. Let's get that up above my head. And so maybe we'll just go ahead and say, let's render where we're getting told the mouse is, right? So we have a mouse X in the input layer, and we have a mouse Y in the input layer. So let's just go ahead and do that so that we can see that we have that mouse cursor position. And then I will go in, that should compile now, I think. Yeah. I will go in and just add the minimum necessary nonsense to get the mouse out. So basically in here, if we only care about where the mouse is right before we call it, really, okay, so when we process our like X input stuff, we do our controller input stuff, we can do it right here. We have that new input pointer, right? We have new input, and we just want to go ahead and set these values, all these values here. So that'd be mouse X, new input mouse Y, new input mouse Z. I don't know if we can get in the way that I'm about to do the other ones, but if we don't support mouse wheel right now, I don't really care. That doesn't actually matter to me very much. And then we'll at least track those 3 buttons as well there, or buttons as I occasionally say them. Nice spelling there, Casey. So what we can do if we just want to, if all we need is just some mouse information, there's actually a get cursor pause function in Windows that will basically tell you where the mouse is at any given time. It's pretty trivial to use, right? Basically what you do is you call this, and the main cursor, whatever the main mouse is on the system, wherever this little thing is that I'm wiggling around right now, when you call that, you can just get wherever it thinks that thing is. So basically, we can say this is the mouse location. We can get that, and then we don't even care if this thing fails or not. It literally does not matter to us because this is strictly debug information. So we can then take a look at this point structure that comes back, and it gives us this long x and y. Now the problem is, if we use this directly, well, you know what? Let me show you what happens if we use it directly, so that you'll understand exactly what I mean. So I won't have to give this explanation blind. You can actually see what actually happens. So if I go ahead and run this, you'll note that we are getting that mouse. You can see that we're getting that mouse position, but you'll notice that it's wrong, right? You see how that's kind of wrong? So what's going on there, right? Well, what's going on is when we call that get cursor position function, it gives us back the cursor position on the screen. But our window, our coordinate system actually that we're drawing on, although we haven't covered coordinate system.
That's interesting, because on X11, it gives you on the window. See, the position doesn't work outside. That's really cool. It's 0, 0. And it's the width and height. Convenient.
Systems much yet. We're going to talk about that a lot when we get to the renderer. But if you think about it, if we say the point 0, 0, we're talking about this point right here. But on the screen, 0, 0 is up there. So you can see it lines up exactly, where if I move the mouse all the way to the top like that, now we're in the upper corner. So what we need to do is we need to find a way to sort of map that cursor position into our Windows coordinate system, because this is in the wrong coordinate system. And coordinate systems, like I said, we'll talk about a lot. So if you don't know what those are and you're a little lost right now, it's totally okay. Just ignore it. We are going to talk about this a lot later on when we start implementing our coordinate system stuff. So you will have plenty of chance to kind of understand that. And this is not an important part of the code that we're writing right now. So you can literally ignore this entirely if you want to. I believe there is something called screen to client, if I remember the name correctly. Screen to client will basically do that mapping, the exact mapping that we want. You pass it a window and you give it the point, and it just maps it from the screen into your client rect space. Now you remember we did that get client rect thing that basically says what our window rectangle is. Well, it's literally that mapping. It maps it into that rectangle, which is exactly what we want. Right? So we can just say, hey, get the screen to client for this window that we've got and map it for us, please. Right? Oops. Missing a slash there all of a sudden. So that will correct it, and now you notice that it is right on target. Now remember, we're drawing our rectangle as if the upper left corner is the position, so that's why it's there. You know, if we were actually doing a mouse cursor, we might want to do an arrow, or we might want to like center the rectangle over it or something like that. But for now, we can tell that we're getting the input properly. So really all we need to know now is we need to know whether or not we had a mouse button up or down. So the way we could do that, if we wanted to, is we can sort of do that in line with that, with when we sort of do all that keyboard processing, you know, this sort of stuff. So what we could do there is we could say, all right, let's go ahead and process mouse up, mouse down messages here, right? We could, I think we also could get them. We might be able to just kind of. I'm so torn. I'm so torn. It depends on how robust we actually want our mouse processing to be. Since it's just debug, I'm tempted to not even bother, and maybe just see if we're fine. Basically, I'm tempted here, ladies and gentlemen. What I am tempted to do, I will tell you, I am tempted to just go ahead and just query it straight away, right in here, and just see. Oh, it's. All right, I think I'm going to do that. So I believe this is crazy. You know, don't ask me why I know all this stuff. It's just you wish that your brain didn't even have this information in it because it's just so ridiculous that I even know this stuff. So basically, there's a function that gets the state of the keyboard for you, and it's the state of the keyboard as of your last message that you pulled off of the message queue, because Windows tracks that for you. And so you may be asking, why would that matter at all? Why would we want to do a get key state call? And you can see that it returns the higher order bit is set if the key is down, that the higher order bit is not set, then it's not down. And it's a short, so it's 16 bits. So basically, we could use this to see whether keys are up or down. And you may be saying, why would you care about that, Casey? Because we are not looking at the keyboard, we are looking at the mouse. Well, if I remember correctly, and sadly, I think I do remember correctly, you can actually ask for the mouse cursor VK code. So basically, if we do something like look at the VK code table, which I assume I can just look at here, virtual key codes, and just typing any VK in there. Oh, there it is, right? This is exactly what I'm talking about. You see those? VKL button, VKM button. You can ask for those as if you were asking for a key. So I can literally go through here and ask for the R button, the M button, and these X buttons, which are those extended buttons, X button 1, X button 2. I can ask for those as if I'm asking for keys. I can ask them at any time, and it will tell me whether or not they're down. So, you know, let's just do that. Let's just go ahead and do that.
Just realized something. It does have to be part of the replay, because it just does save the input. I think I'll put button C32 rest. It could be just a bool. Button released. And this is not needed anymore. Get rid of this. These could be much smaller. That's fine for now. Button equals 0. I do need to initialize this because I think I just allocated it and pressed false. I wonder if that needs to be. Let's say it's outside the screen. And then all I gotta do is global Linux state dot game input dot button pressed was false. Or what if they press, for instance, let's say, oh my bad, I didn't finish that. What if you like hold the left button down and scroll? Maybe I can save. Seems quite bad. What do I get from here? Nah, it seems pretty bad. I don't know, seems quite simple, but why am I overthinking this? I'll do that later. Just save the positions for now. Mouse X is event.x motion.x. Kind of what? What did I just start? Build data. Not build data, sorry. I think I dot. Oh, I think I know why. Because maybe here. There we go. Switch input doc key. Okay. As for the buttons, I don't know yet.
I don't actually remember. We think we have a utility call here that'll do this sort of weird stuff for us that we needed to do for our cycle counts. So where was that guy? It was Win32 process keyboard message. This is actually, I think, all we really need, right? Because we're sort of treating this right just like a keyboard message. So I can just call this, and it'll do exactly what we want, right? We can just, oops, that's great. We can just do this, I think, and then use that this get key state for whatever the button is, and it with that top value. And I believe they said that it was a short, right? So the high bit is going to be 1 shifted up by 15, if I understand the documentation correctly. So that's like all we really need to do, I think. Let's find out. Let's find out. L button, M button, R button, X button 1, and X button 2 will be in there. That'll be lovely, I suppose. And I think in theory, that is it. Let me see if that's true. New input mouse buttons is not a member of new input. Is that true? Are you lying to me? I doubt you are. You're a compiler. You don't often lie, although sometimes you do. You never know. So game input, mouse, oh, well, if you spell it wrong, there you go. All right, so I think that's literally all we need to do to process that. Yeah, I don't think there's really much else we'd have to do. And we've got a to-do here if we ever want to support mouse wheel, which, I don't know. We don't really have zooming in this game because it's a 2D game, so we probably don't really need the mouse wheel for anything. But if we found out we did, we would be sad because we're not supporting it. All right, so what we need now is just some way to see if those are working. Let's go ahead and, again, leverage our render player function here. When you can render, you'll see this. This is just how programming works, too. It's kind of cool. Soon we'll start to be having a lot of functions that we can reuse. We haven't really gotten to that point yet, but we're going to be there very shortly once we start building renderer tools and all these other tools. And it's kind of nice. Once you have one thing working, it builds on itself so quickly. Like before we had really no way to indicate anything, and now we can just call this one function that draws a rectangle. Excuse me. And we can essentially use that function to do all sorts of other stuff. So, right, for example, I can do something where I just say, all right, mouse buttons 0 ended down, right? I think that's what we have as our thing. I can just do that and see, I should see a rectangle happen. Ooh, what did I do? New state ended down is not equal to is down. Okay, so that's our assertion there. I guess I don't actually know if this will work then. Do we? Because we don't. Okay. We don't send this guy toggles. So this would still, yeah. So I wonder if I just want to make this function. You see what happened there? What happened was we were previously guaranteeing essentially that we always handed this guy is down, not is down, is down, not is down. We would never hand it like 2 is downs or 2 is ups in a row because we were processing incoming messages. I think what I'd rather do here, because I want to make this more robust so I can just throw it whatever this current state is and have it work, I think what I want to do is kind of just say, you know, if it's not equal, then do the processing. And that will just work at that point, right? Because that way I can use it for more things, and I don't know, I feel like that's just going to be more what we're going to want. So I can throw stuff at it and it just works. So you see that up in the corner, do you see that guy there? That's showing us that the button is down and pushing the button up, down, up, down, up, down. So that's totally good. Let's go ahead and real quickly drop a 4. I'm going to drop a 4 on this, yo. Let's go ahead and whip out that for loop. Everyone knows how much we love a for loop. Button index, right? Because I wrote this once, no need to write it again. Just write it once and throw a loop in there, right? Let's go ahead and loop over all of the ones, right, that are in this array, this mouse buttons array. I can just say for everything in that array, however many there are, I'm going to do one for each of it. And then why not go ahead and add something, let's say 20 times the button index, to just move it over. So I'm basically going to move where I render over by 20 pixels every time we increment that button count, right? Off we go. There's our first 3 buttons, left, middle, right. There's our 2 X buttons on the side. There we go. Mouse input done. Completely finished. So that's always good. Can I hold them all down at once? Yeah, there we go. It's hard to do on my mouse. I don't have like, you know why? I don't have some kind of crazy gaming mouse. I need one of those mice where you put like weights in them so your mouse is like totally perfectly counterbalanced. That's the way you get the high scores, yo. Like, who uses a mouse without weights in it? It's ridiculous. Come on.
Making
Totally behind the times.
improvements.
All right, so that's all we really needed for mice.
I think the replay buffer is allocated already. Coding input to write to memory. Oh, instead of file. Okay. Interesting. I think I'm gonna stop there. Still torn between. Did I go to the gym today? Well, I suppose I could. Don't know if I will. I'm gonna call it a day there. That was like 30 minutes of video, but it took like almost 2 hours. It's all good though. I do need to complete the input. I'll do that later. Refresh rate. Mouse X, mouse Y. Okay, I think that's it. I'm gonna call it a day there. As always, thank you for hanging out. I shall see you back tomorrow, hopefully. I did take a few days break. 3, 2, not sure. Alright, hope you have a good one, and I'll see you later. See ya.